Before I start, at an overall level, what I have seen is that over last 2-3 years with AI conferences, we have had enough of a one question. Is AI required? I think we all sitting in this room are past that question. It's not or no longer about whether AI is required or not. The question has more shifted. How can we make AI adoption possible in our workplaces? Because I think a lot of organizations are struggling in that particular aspect. They all know that AI is important. Everyone knows that this needs to be there. But the question remains, or the struggle remains, that how do we make this adoption more clearer and more faster for our orgs? So, with that point of view, I'm just gonna say that two things. When we talk about an adoption, usually people say that, it's all about the mindset. I would differ a bit and say that, yes, it's about mindset, but behind mindset, it's more about the foundation. Unless you have the right foundation, unless you have the right way of moving forward, or you are ready for the AI from 2-3 aspects. And when we say about those 2-3 aspects, I would say that when we talk about that, the 3 barriers in any adoption are usually data. When we talk about data, it could be about fragmentation, biased of the data, and I cannot trust the data I have. The second barrier is a skill. Now, when I say skill, a lot of people will get up and say that, okay, what kind of a skill you're talking about? So I'm talking about skill across the organization. Irrespective of the division you work for, I think it is the high time where we start investing in upskilling people. It's not about saying that AI is there to take your job, but it will definitely take your job if you're not upskilling yourself to make sure that you are augmenting AI for yourself and for your company. So whether you're part of HR, marketing, sales, services, data science heads, and other places, data engineering, all of us need to make sure that the skills are there to augment us. And the last thing is about culture and transparency. So when we talk about AI, there are a lot of questions about risk. I think a lot of people have moved past away, a lot of organizations, and they are showing us that risks are there, but it goes back to the first point which I made. It's not there because of trust, it's not there because of culture or intent, it's because the foundations are weak. So what we should be doing more is working our own foundation. So I have 5 questions which I would pose to you guys, and maybe what we can do is that as a conversational dialogue, we can just try and understand that what you guys have faced within the organization, and I will also share my perspective as data science head, what I have faced with my clients, and then probably that conversation, we can try to close this gap of AI adoption and try to see that if we can give back something to the audience here, right?
Absolutely.
Is your mic working?
Yeah,
all right.
I hope it's audible. Perfect.
Yeah, so Karthik, my first question is to you, and I'm sorry I'm fumbling a bit. When we talk about organization, a lot of organization, I'm sure as a data science head, you meet a lot of your clients. A lot of organizations say that they are AI ready, but the data tells a different story when you start talking to them, right? Yep. So when we talk about these things, this particular aspect, what are 2-3 indicators when you go and you talk to people, you get, okay, this is gonna be something really different, or it's the same story. Someone wants to do AI, but they don't have the right setup for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. I think, firstly, thank you so much. Warm welcome to everybody post-lunch. I know it's going to be interesting for sure. To put context, I've spent the last 14 years leading AI practitioners, and the problem statement is very, very clear. And like you mentioned, I think what's very important is from an adoption point of view, when we talk to clients or internally, what's very, very important is like you said, the maturity levels, right? And just to get to that, I think there are 3 things that I would put at one metric, which is your people, processes, and platform. That indicates your analytical maturity or data science maturity to some level, right? How many set of people you have, what kind of processes do you follow, and what kind of platforms do you use, right? That indicates some level of maturity. Now, even before that, what's very, very important, like you said, to get to that, it's the entire how much data do you have and how good your data is.
Yes.
Now, 80% or 70 to 80% of all data scientists spend time in pre-processing and getting the right data set. But what's very, very important, I pick up this thing from, I started my career at Mu Sigma, where we solve problems in a very, very, the McKinsey way of problem solving, where before you get to the people, processes, and technology, you start with fundamentals and heuristic questions of, hey, are we doing the right thing by asking this question, right? A lot of times, trust me, when business teams come to the data science team saying, this is my problem statement, they themselves are not very clear of what the problem statement is.
I can correlate with you because when, as a data science head, I go to a lot of people, they really have a vague question, and it can be as vague as, I have a budget of, $50,000. Give me an AI solution which I can take it to my stakeholders.
Yep.
So I think you're spot on. But Mangesh, coming to you, from data science perspective, these are few things. But from a data engineering perspective, as you head the engineering, what are the things? Because, like a lot of time, a data scientist or a client partner may come to you and say that we just want to get this done and it would be a completely new tech. So how do you go for that? What are your two challenges which you see when it comes to AI adoption?
Yeah. Okay, so this is a classic question, I feel. So there is always an emphasis in organizations, to move fast. Once you have a problem identified, it's all about execution.
Right.
So what I've observed is the classic case that most organizations have is that they would have a lot of data.
Right.
Like I work at McKinley Rice, so we have a lot of data which is gathered through the sales prospecting platforms that we have. But the issue comes, how do you basically use this data, and how do you basically make this data ready for the data pipelines? So the first thing that I think which I've observed is how the data is scattered across the organizations.
Yeah.
Right, and while I was reading on this, what I came across is a startling figure. Boston Consulting Group, which is one of the consulting groups, it has found that the organizations which actually succeed with their AI solutions, they invest 70% of their budgets in transformation and cultural transformation, specifically. So. The classic case is that data would be available across the organizations, but there would not be a strict governance on the data that you have. Right?
Makes sense.
And the second thing is the data is not in a form which can be
easily
used.
consumed, as Karthik was also saying.
There would be multiple PII related issues. There could be multiple legal issues in reusing this data, or this data may just be lying in the form of PDFs.
So would both of you, would it be fair to say that AI doesn't fail because algorithm is failing, but it fails because of lack of foundation?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, it's the mindset of the people. I mean, as data scientists, our primary job is to navigate through roadblocks and keep moving ahead. But that push has to come top down, right? If, like you said, if budgets are not flowing in for the data science teams, right? And that's the first P that I was talking about. The people. If you have people and if you don't have platforms for them, they can't do things.
So it means that AI readiness starts with data governance and not with just ambition and right investments, right?
It's a combination, I would say.
It's a combination of all three.
I would say it's the people angle is very, very important, and we need visionaries to kind of drive
I think
that.
you have started answering my second question. So when it comes to AI capability, let me put it that way. In our teams, what is the right balance between upskilling the team, hiring the specialist, and relying on external vendors? And when we talk about it, as you rightly said, when right investments are made in the right places, it leads the way. So, from that perspective, what has actually worked for both of you? Like from a data science perspective, from data engineering perspective, because AI is coming in both the places, right? Whether you talk about, Databricks or Snowflakes for data engineering side, a lot of AI-driven modules have come up, agent-driven modules have come up. When we talk about data science side, a lot of, small agents have been developed, and everyone is bringing their own agent hub to kind of answer a lot of things. So what is it you guys think in terms of upskilling or hiring the talent?
I mean, at Ematicus, we've done a mix of things, right? Right from there are a bunch of, it's very important for your business to own certain things from a maturity point of view as well. You would probably want to start from the BI spectrum to the AI spectrum that I call, where you start building your simple dashboards, to start building machine learning predictive models, to then get into the entire generative AI suite, right? So what's important is what talent do you have, and a good mix is, of course, data science is a interdisciplinary skill sets that are required, right? So of course we need data engineers, we need data scientists, we need BI engineers, so on and so forth. So it would be, the way I would put it is a good combination of people across hierarchy, a mix of platforms from being not being so a single platform agnostic, but being open to multiple things.
Thanks, Karthik. Mangesh?
Yeah, can you repeat your question?
Yeah, so when it comes to AI capability in our teams, what happens is that we have seen that we take, build, borrow, buy kind of scenarios. So its skill set is also available, like if you upskill versus you hire someone, or you go for a vendor for fulfilling your needs. So what is it as a team you feel that, what should be the practice and how we should move forward from there?
Yeah, from my experience, I think the leadership has to have a good conceptual understanding of what they want to solve. And, I think the upskilling starts from the leadership is what I feel. So at McKinsey, what we did is the initial part was the leadership, which had to be, upskilled. And the second thing is we used new hiring strategically.
Yeah.
So basically we hired people who could solve a problem as a consultant for us. So that kind of gave our team some bandwidth to get organized, as well as we understood whether this is ever going to work. So
right.
I think it took us about 6 months to basically figure things out, and the consultants during this time added a lot of strategic muscle to like the strategy that we were undergoing. So once we were ready, I think eventually we had to figure out our own talent and how we could transition them to roles which are more AI specific.
So for our audience, can I just summarize it in this way? There is no single model, but capability is always intentional to the organization. And when we talk about upskilling, if we want to be sustainable, we should be focusing on upskilling more. But at the same time, like you mentioned, vendors can jumpstart our career or the thought process, but accountability still lies with us. We can't, if something goes wrong, we can't put it on any vendor we have hired, right? So would it be fair to say that when it comes to AI capability, the ownership and technical literacy both go hand in hand, and you can use either ways, but at the end, accountability still remains with someone who is going out and looking for scouting for talent?
I think that also starts with the mindset of getting things done, right?
Right.
How do you do that internally, externally, hybrid? That's left to the business, purely based on budget, based on talent, based on what problem and how critical that problem statement is and how soon you want to deliver. So I think there have been instances where at Ematicus we've kind of looked at certain Gen AI based capabilities, and we've figured out that, hey, there's an internal combination of some tool that we had built as a prototype. Perhaps that getting plugged in is much easier than getting an external one to come and build that for us, right?
Makes
so
sense.
I think it's fair to say, and because Ematicus is in the business of upskilling, we spend a lot of time on upskilling in fact, from a culture point of view, there's a 10% weightage in our performance metrics on upskilling purely, right? And,
okay.
And as head of AI, for me, it's very important that my team and we all understand how important it is in the world of AI to upskill, not at an annual basis, but literally on a daily basis.
On a daily basis, yeah.
So certifications, getting them to know the latest model of your AI that is there in the market, it goes a long way for us.
So, I think as a overall, what we have seen across our clients is when you start looking for AI adoption, as we started in the first question, I think it goes beyond tech. Usually 90% of tech investments are made in technology because we say that we want to be AI ready. But a lot of it has to do with individual readiness and the team's readiness. So if you're helping or if you're assigning someone to be an AI lead or want to lead an AI initiative, make sure that the right budget and upskilling is done for those. So Mangesh, next question is specifically, for you in a broader sense, because when it comes to AI automation, a lot of people still believe that automation starts with data engineering. So when we talk about, can we automate something and anything with AI? Should we, just go ahead with any opportunity of automation and apply AI to it, or we should have a different thought process to identify that which are AI opportunities versus, it could be just a traditional automation?
Yeah, I think a lot of discussions happen around this in organizations. So the way I look at it is, there should be some owner. When you have a problem that is being highlighted and it needs to be solved using AI, I think the first question that needs to be asked is, what is the ROI that you want to drive out of this, right? So once that is clear, I think the other things can, all fall in place. But what I've seen is there's often scarcity in organizations, especially with somebody who can clearly articulate what is the ROI that you want to drive out of this. And
so I would just say that on that point, I want to add, readiness is always measurable. The only point is that we don't take it as a measurable metrics. When we talk about any AI project, I think if we spend good amount of time, and as someone has said that if you spend more time discussing the problem and define the problem the right way, you have solved the half problem. I think that's the mistake we are making with AI. We treat readiness as a good to have metrics, but it should be a mandatory metrics, and it's all, in most of the cases I've seen with my experience, it's always measurable.
It is, and I want to quote, I'm sure everybody here has seen that quote from Gartner, where 80% of your prototypes don't make it to production, right? Now, Gartner has also launched another very nice RAG-based concept, which tells, hey, if you're using GenAI for a particular kind of problem statement, what's the likelihood of that failing or success, being successful, right? So it also, it's on the onus is on, like you rightly mentioned, the problem statement definition. And from there, it's very, very important of us thinking big in terms of scalability, right? In terms of, I'll give you an example. In terms of, in the context of text data, if you are solving using any of these GenAI pipelines, the odds of that moving versus some other problem statement. So it's important you bucketize into what will fly from a POC to prod. Right. And that readiness is, from a scalability point is also very, very important.
So as we started and we had a bit of discussion around time and everything, what I suggest is last question, which I have, I can take that question, or what we can do is that we can go back to our audience and take a couple of questions and try to answer them more in the theme where we say that AI adoption challenges, data quality, skill and culture. So on this theme, if we can have a couple of questions from the audience, we would try to give a point of view in terms of how we have seen that across the organizations. If there are any questions, we would be happy to take that. Else I will move ahead with the final question I have here. One mistake which you have seen, and maybe first Mangesh, you can answer that, and then Karthik, you. When we see AI adoption or in any BU or a client side, what is one mistake which is very common, and how we can avoid that mistake to make sure our AI implementation is actually successful?
Yeah. So from my understanding and from my experience, the most common mistake I've seen is, around how the data governance is structured in organizations, without making that suitable for your AI data pipeline. Organizations basically take the first steps without actually breaking the data silos or the cultural aspects, right? So you need to basically have strong governance around the data. With a general consensus that it is still a company data.
Makes sense.
So basically, there shouldn't be silos.
I think it's more about data democratization. We have seen that
Correct.
people in the organization, certain department believe that they own the data. And I think as an org owns the data, and we need to make sure that democratization happens, or we initiate that democratization for AI success.
Exactly.
All right. Yeah, Karthik?
Because you talked about the engineering layer, I'll talk more from a data science point of view, right?
Right.
For me, it's more of data science teams or business teams, for that matter, jumping into solutions too quickly without defining the problem itself, right?
Makes sense.
That's my number one problem statement. I've seen practitioners, the ones who are newly coming into the field, directly jumping into building the ML model or plugging a GenAI pipeline without defining the problem, cleaning your data set. So I'll go back to the fundamentals, right? For us, it's primarily getting to the solution too quick. In the pursuit of that, if you're missing your fundamentals of asking the right questions, right from the junior most to all the way to the business leader, I think it's a very big challenge. And you'll end up either doing more iterations, or you'll not end up solving for the core problem, or the cost goes up, right? I think these are the failures.
So I think, let me summarize in this way. One is definitely data, the other is the problem statement. But if we look at orgs and we go back a step and we say that rather than trying to exhaust the existing budget, if we try to solve something meaningful and define a value to it, that's where the real value from AI can come in. As I said, readiness is measurable. It's just that we need to focus on that readiness. And with that, I would say that when we talk about AI success for a business vertical, a business unit, or any company, it's never determined by AI algorithms, right? At the end of the day, it's about the AI, the leadership, how the leadership is tasked. It's about the discipline. It's about the capability investments. So unless you have the right capability investments into AI, you're not going to have a sustainable AI environment. And last but not the least is the cultural trust. We need to find ways to build that cultural trust, and it goes back to what you were saying, Karthik, the basic foundation. Unless the basic foundations are ready, I don't think that cultural trust will be there, because we keep on hearing stories of AI doing things, but the fact is it's not AI doing things. It's our failure to make sure that the right measures were in place so that AI should not be doing those things. With that, I would just say that the tech is out there. We all have seen the tech. We all have seen the money. But are we ready from a mindset perspective to embrace that AI is something which requires us to change the way we think about AI, rather than saying that whether AI is going to be a game changer or anything? It's more about the cultural shift, and it starts with us. Any last points?
I think in today's world, what's very important for practitioners is to look at it from, I just want to definitely touch upon this, which is the ethics and bias that we bring, right? We are, a big fan of the entire human plus AI combination. But I think at the end of the day, we are the ones deciding. So he talked about very strong layers of governance.
Yeah.
Bake that along with ethics and bias. I think we've got superpowers. It's left to us as leaders. How do you want to define that, right? It could go either way.
The moment you said superpowers, I remember that dialogue, right? With great power comes great responsibility. So for AI, let's close this discussion on the point that when you talk about AI as a chapter, that will always have a lot of power, not only because you are tasked with that, because it's the ongoing theme. And when you are tasked with a great responsibility, a great theme, there will be a lot of responsibility which will fall upon you. That responsibility is on data governance, in trust, and building the mechanisms which are driving foundations. And if we are able to do that right, I'm sure that we will never see an initiative fail if we focus on two things. One is defining the right problem statement to start off with and making sure it has value, and second is checking the readiness. With that, thank you so much, Karthik. Thank you, Mangesh.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you, Karthik. Thank you, Mangesh.